So let me give a quick disclaimer before we start. This video contains mild sarcasm and dry humour aimed at software and ideas, not at people. If you're happy to learn while occasionally smirking, you'll be fine. But if sarcasm causes you distress, discomfort, or an urgent need to be offended on someone else's behalf, this may not be your cup of tea. Okay, with that out of the way, let's begin. Okay, folks, gather round. It's time to talk about Elementor 4. Yes, Elementor, the page builder that made drag and drop design wonderfully accessible, while also producing enough nested divs to make browsers question their very existence. Now, apparently version 3 was almost perfect, so naturally we now have Elementor 4, the proudly named CSS First Atomic Editor. Atomic because everything sounds more impressive when borrowed from physics. So what exactly is the new and magical version 4? The most obvious change is that Elementor has finally abandoned the old 3-tab ritual of content, style and advanced, a system that ensured changing a button color required the patience of a chess grandmaster. Now we get just 2 tabs, general and style. Now general, what the thing is. Style, how it looks. It's clean, logical and suspiciously sensible. One panel to rule them all, and far fewer excuses for inconsistent design choices. Now, Elementor 4 is also embracing a CSS first workflow, which translated into plain English means that Elementor has discovered that CSS classes are in fact a thing, and maybe they should use them properly. Instead of styling every widget like a unique snowflake, you now define reusable classes and variables. You change something once and watch the entire site obediently update itself. It's almost like this is how web design has worked for decades. Now, what's particularly charming is that this eliminates the classic Elementor pastime of manually editing dozens of identical elements, an activity previously reserved for late nights and a sense of quiet regret. They've also added variables for colors, typography, spacing, and other design essentials, meaning you no longer need to hunt down hex codes like you're on a digital scavenger hunt designed by chaos itself. Now, under the hood, the editor outputs cleaner markup with fewer wrappers and lighter CSS footprint, which is excellent news for performance because version 3 occasionally treated HTML structure like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. The whole atomic philosophy basically means everything is built from smaller, reusable pieces that behave consistently. Instead of widgets generating wildly different structures for reasons no one fully understood, things are now far more predictable. In other words, less glitter explosion and more engineering. Now, responsive controls are also improved. Rather than crossing your fingers and hoping tablet layouts behave, you get a clearer, more deliberate control. A refreshing change from the traditional nudge it and see what breaks workflow. And one very important detail, version 4 elements can live alongside version 3 widgets, which is wonderfully convenient and also slightly dangerous. Because while atomic elements reduce bloat and improve output, the moment you sprinkle in older version 3 widgets, a good chunk of those shiny performance gains politely exit the room. So version 3 widgets still bring the historical baggage, extra wrappers, inline styles, and a generous helping of CSS enthusiasm. So yes, you can mix systems, and know your code statements will not be nearly as impressive when you do. So it basically means it's half modern, half legacy, and fully confusing. So how does this differ from the current version 3 editor? Version 3 styling was largely widget-centric chaos. Every element does its own thing. Every panel behaves slightly differently, and consistency is more of a suggestion than any kind of rule. Version 4 shifts towards a unified styling system where design decisions actually scale instead of multiply. So if you enjoy micromanaging individual widget styling forever, version 3 remains a nostalgic playground. But if you prefer something resembling a sane design system, version 4 is clearly the grown-up direction. So in short, Elementor 4 is Elementor finally behaving like it's read a CSS manual and taken some notes. And honestly, it's about time.